Open your eyes. Wake up, Link.
I'm Luke Summerhaze.
I'm James J. Miles.
I'm James the Jester Stewart.
And you're listening to Hyrule Field Report.
And in this edition of the report, we'll be giving you our first impressions on Tears of the Kingdom.
It's alright, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly a video game. There's maybe more they could have done. It's certainly not a bad one.
Pretty much the same old thing, isn't it?
Before you joined the call, this is exactly the pattern that me and Jazz did.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's I think pre-release there was part of me, and we kind of spoke about a little bit of this in the first episode, but there was part of me that was not worried as such, but interested, I suppose is a better way to put it, if they'd be able to match the quality of the first game, the Breath of the Wild. And I'm not even toe deep into the game, it feels like at this point, but in a way it feels like they might have even exceeded it at this stage. Is that crazy to say, even though I've not played that much of it yet?
I can agree with that. Like, I've definitely felt like that as well. Like a similar thing, like you're saying. Like, I feel like you barely scratch the surface, but like it's that first area just gives you such a high hopes for where the game can go. With all like the stuff that they're doing.
It definitely, I remember a lot of the chat before the game came out was like, oh, it's the same map, is it just going to be the same game, sort of thing. I haven't seen anything from the first game yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen an area from the first game, I haven't used a power from the first game, I haven't met an enemy from the first game.
I mean, I think that's certainly...
I know that will eventually change, but
even despite the fact that a fair chunk of the world will feel familiar, at the same point it won't, just because of how they've remixed it, and it is a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and the fact that you're returning to certain locations later on in your adventure, and just to see how they've changed is part of the excitement into itself. So even though there might be things that are reused, and that's an opportunity for maybe certain detractors to go, see, I told you, they've reused the same map. I mean, that's barely the story there. The story is, what have they done to make it feel exciting and fresh and new, and they've done lots. We won't go into specifics as of yet. I mean, I think it's important to say it that for our first impressions that this will be mostly spoiler free. I think we'll go into a little bit about maybe some certain mechanics and such and things that have impressed us so far, but nothing specific. So even if you've not played the game yet, this is still safe to listen to, I would say.
Yeah, I guess if you haven't played it yet, maybe this is hearing us bang on about it might push you over the fence. But even if you have played it, who knows how far you've got in the 2 days since it released.
That's it, yeah. We're having a bit of a pre-cast chat about thinking how the hell are we going to structure our playthrough and how this podcast is actually going to come together. So yeah, what you might have played if you actually picked up the game might be something we haven't, and vice versa. So it'll be interesting. But this first episode, just to reiterate, should be safe for even those that barely dipped a pinky toe into the water.
So for me, I ordered the nice special edition from the Nintendo store, and then I start work at 1:30 on Friday, so I was like, great, so I got plenty of time for my package to arrive. And then they ring me up at 10. Oh, it's arriving between 2 and 4.
Oh.
So I immediately messaged my boss, like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to come in late today. I'm waiting for a parcel. It's okay. I'll be there in time for my lessons." I don't tell her what package I'm waiting for. Obviously, I let her make her own assumptions.
Did she
Something,
say
like,
anything
really
when you? Did
No,
she say
but
anything when you got to work, or do you think she knew?
I don't think she knew, but all of my colleagues knew.
Oh,
But then it arrived at like 3:30, so it was literally great. Get it in the door, take a couple pictures, go to work.
Yeah,
Work till 9:30.
You tweeted.
yeah, I did think you were
yeah.
awfully. I thought you just dressed up for receiving Tears of the Kingdom.
No, you thought that. I knew he was like getting ready for work or something. Nobody has that amount of pens and isn't like using them for work.
Yeah. But then I went straight from there to work till like 10 o'clock. So I came home, basically had my dinner and went to sleep. And then I woke up what was my Saturday morning, so Friday night in the UK, and played my first like 2.5 hours on stream. Then I had to go to work all day Saturday. And then I got another couple of hours in last night. So I haven't actually had that much time with it yet.
Conversely, I've played a lot of it.
Yeah, same.
I had nothing planned all of yesterday.
Tears of Kingdom was the plan.
All of Friday. I actually played it when it unlocked at like 12 on
you're super early on
Friday morning. Yeah, I was already up late,
So
and I was like, oh, I'll maybe just play, the first hour and a half or so.
So you went digital then?
I did, yes. I used one of the combo vouchers that they offer. So I think it ended up like being £40 something. I got that and Fire Emblem. But anyway,
mine was like 43 quid. I got a postal with it.
Nice.
But
I fully intended to, think I'll get an hour and a half. Nope, I stayed up till about 4 in the morning. I woke up at, I think, maybe 10, half 10, and I think I played it all day on Friday in a good chunk of today as well. So yeah, I've put a fair chunk of time into it already, but even despite that, not even scratched any of the major story beats or anything like that. Just been enjoying and loving this game. This fantastic game.
It's the same thing. It's just got like the same thing as Breath of the Wild. Like, it's just the world itself is just a joy to be in, and like they just added like so much more, like the extra mechanics that they've added, like just makes that even better than what Breath of the Wild had. There's just so much more that you can do.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I've got all day now, Sunday and Monday. Basically, apart from a couple of recordings like this and eating meals, all I'm going to be doing is Zelda. So
yes,
that's the way to do it.
Oh, maybe I'll watch Guardians of the Galaxy tomorrow.
Patch that, more Zelda.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, oh, when can I squeeze it in on a different day?
Exactly. I mean, I think even though you've got all that time, tomorrow and today, again, you'll probably be like me in that you just won't scratch any of the major story beats or anything like that, or do any of the quote unquote main quest, because like once you're out of the introduction and the game opens up, it's like Breath of the Wild in that you'll just get distracted by the next thing over the next hill, or spotting something in the distance, or spotting something in the sky, or
Well, I'm actually interested to hear you say that, because the opening, the equivalent of the Great Plateau from Breath of the Wild, without going into too much detail, has felt a little more linear. In that you kind of have to do the shrines in a certain order, because you use the power from one shrine to get to the next.
In a way, kind of, but I'm pretty sure. Like, I feel like I'd done them in order, but I still felt like I had like plenty of freedom to kind of
Well, I
do what I want and
figured
explore
out the
that
order
first
it
area.
wanted me to do, and then deliberately tried to go to a different one, and it was
Right.
like I could not find a way up there, and I sort of had to begrudgingly go back with my tail between my legs and do it in the intended order.
Be an interesting one.
Well,
to,
maybe out of the like, maybe like you're good like after like the first one has to be
Yeah,
open, right?
I was wondering if like it probably is only this opening part, but it did immediately like, this is a slightly different vibe, because in Breath of the Wild, right from the start, it's like you're dumped on the Great Plateau and it's just do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this game, the opening, like the very opening, is like very modern video games, right?
Oh yeah, like it's like slow, lower dump. Let's walk through this dark tunnel.
Yeah, walking with an NPC while they talk. Like,
yeah, I was surprised at that, man. I was like, wow, this is where they're going.
But then
like, Tears of the Kingdom be a walking simulator.
and then you get to the sort of tutorial area, and again, it's this is kind of slightly more linear, slightly more directed, or called whatever the word would be. What's the word like for a playlist? Where it's like someone's chosen it.
Personalized?
No, like the thing that Steam and stuff don't do. like
targeted.
Like a person. No, like a person has gone through it and selected good things.
Cultivated? No, I don't know.
No, that's like plants.
Yeah, you can cultivate the good bits of a plant.
No, there is definitely a word, and I'm going to feel like such an idiot when I come to it. But basically, it's that.
I know,
and it just made me wonder if the game overall is going to feel a little more like that, and more like an older Zelda.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
It's like a bait switch, like really, I think. But I'm curious now. Like, I feel like I want to like kind of start a new game on it. Like, I don't know if there's like multiple files you can have on Tears of the Kingdom. That, like, I know Breath of the Wild was weird with that. But I'd want to restart, like, just to see what would happen after doing that first shrine. Like, to go
right.
Not go the second obvious one, which is like they're kind of. I get what you mean, like the way the map's designed in that first area.
Yeah, it's like designed like a big loop. Where
like basically, you kind of the camera pans, bang, you got your first shrine right there, and then you're basically kind of set on a circular but straight kind of path to the next one. But I think you'd be fine. Like, you do the first shrine, and you could basically beeline to the one at the opposite end if you wanted to.
I mean,
because that first main ability that you have is the one you use the most.
Yeah, I think keyword for me comparing this to Breath of the Wild is creativity. Like, you've got, because of the power set you have in Tears of the Kingdom, it's almost like, you know how we saw in Breath of the Wild, like speedrunners, like early speedruns, people would like find really inventive ways to get around the map. Well, they've now given you the tools for normal players just to do that in certain ways. Like, traversing the map is so easy because of the tools that you've got, and I think why this game is, once come Journey's End, 150 hours time, I'm sure, of playtime or more, come Journey's End, I will very strongly feel that this is the superior game. I'm already in that kind of wheelhouse already, but it's just they've taken some of the little annoyances I suppose you maybe have with the game, like just things about, it's going to take me ages to get up that hill, and now it's started raining, and now I can't have to sit here and wait until the rain goes off till I can actually continue climbing, and things that would maybe just get under your skin a little bit in Breath of the Wild. I've not felt that at all in Tears of the Kingdom, because if something like that happens in Tears of the Kingdom, you then think, because of the skill set and the tools that the game gives you,
You've
you
always got a solution to kind
you,
of
it
get
gets you
past the
thinking about
problem that you have in front of you.
exactly. Like now, the solution isn't just wait it out until you can continue climbing. Now your brain just starts going a million miles an hour, thinking, okay, well, I can't continue going for this path I initially planned. Let me look around. Let me see what I can use in the environment. Let me see what I can merge together. Let me see how I can begin and continue to get to the place I want to go to. And that's just genius to me. It's genius. It's just,
Mhm. That's why, like that. Sorry, like that's why that first area, like it doesn't really, like to me, it doesn't like it is kind of linear, but it didn't feel linear to me because I was coming up with creative ways to get to that next destination.
Mhm.
Like I put out like a tweet like saying like how did everyone climb up to like the final like snow shrine? I say final because obviously like that's just the order I went in, but like, and I could imagine like there's got to be like 100, if not 1,000 different ways that you can get up there.
I just like stuck 5 logs together, balanced them on the cliff, and made a ladder.
Basically, that's kind of funny. Like it's funny that you say that because that's exactly what I done. But
yeah,
hopefully, Jay's done something different.
What this game has, which
we'll find out on the episode
the other one
when we get to the area.
What this game has, which the other one had a little bit, is even when you're doing exactly what the developer intended you to do, it feels like you're cheating and breaking the rules.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely. There's been a few times I've done a shrine or something, and I have felt like, okay, on retrospect, the dev probably wanted me to do it that way, but it does such a good job of making you feel like really clever for having sussed it out, thinking like you said, like you've broken the game somehow, even though that's probably exactly how Nintendo figured the majority of players were going to do the shrine. What's going to really interest me, and you're already seeing a little bit of this coming out in some clips on Twitter or where have you there, is how, let's say 95% of the player base does it the quote unquote intended way. What are the 5% going to do? How are they going to break the game even further? To and it's staggering because what came out of Breath of the Wild, like talking about those early speedruns, like people use stasis, for example, to make like you've watched and read Dragon Ball, right, Luke?
Yeah.
Tao, what's his name? Mercenary Tao. He like stands on the stone pillar and just goes flying
Oh,
away.
yeah.
Like just like that with the trees and Breath of the Wild.
Basically, they're already making like flying devices in Breath of the Wild, like in Tears of the Kingdom. Like you've kind of got so many options. Like the creativity is going to be just go like through the roof. Like,
one thing,
I think even in a few weeks' time, never mind a few months.
Jay, you were talking about like this is going to feel like the better game.
Yes.
I think what's really interesting is it's going to feel like it's not going to replace Breath of the Wild. Like, this game really feels like a sequel, and that it benefits a lot from having played the first one. Because Breath of the Wild keeps things pretty simple. Like, the opening of Breath of the Wild is so iconic because, like, you get out of the bathtub and then it's just, here's a little play space, figure it all out. Whereas this game opens with, like, here's some, like, batshit insane stuff to deal with. You're on a floating island in the sky. Some sort of ghost sheep is talking to you. There's all kinds of lore. And, like, the set of powers you get in Breath of the Wild seem pretty basic. But that trains you to be ready to deal with the much more bonkers possibilities you've got in this game.
Yeah. I think, whilst I wouldn't let this dissuade anybody if you haven't played Breath of the Wild from jumping into Tears of the Kingdom, I think that knowledge and skill set of just how Link moves in general and, how to just generally traverse the world, having that in place already is, but not essential by any means, but dear Lord, does it help for when, like you said, you add on that extra layer of complexity with the new tools.
Yeah, if someone asked me, like, oh, should I jump in on Tears of the Kingdom or should I play both? So far, I think I would say, oh, you should just play both. Breath of the Wild still holds up. It's still probably one of the best games ever made. And then now you have the bonus of knowing there's a whole second one afterwards.
That's it. Like, I suppose like one of the biggest problems I had after playing Breath of the Wild was going, oh, I wish there was more. Well, if you haven't played Breath of the Wild, guess what?
I was going to say, if you're going to tell people that, you've got to tell them that they're set for like playing this like 2 games for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
I think that knowledge of Breath of the Wild comes into play as well, with just knowing the map in general. Like, just I was speaking earlier on about seeing how things have changed and just knowing the world, even knowing where to go, like saying, I want to go check out and see how this part of the world's changed. That goes a long way as well. You know, I suppose a way to put it would be saying knowing the world is a real benefit to then find out that you don't know the world, if you get what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
Like before the call, I was exploring quite an iconic location from the first game, and how it's changed is
Impa's Strip Club.
pretty interesting. So yeah, I'll say no more than that because obviously, like I said, we don't want to get too specific on this cast, but it's really exciting to explore this world as a whole once again. That's not even counting, you know, the new stuff they've added, like the Sky Islands, of course. Like that's the game's big selling point in all the marketing is look at these new structures you're going to get to explore soaring in the sky, and obviously opening like that is that they want you to focus on that to a big degree as well.
Well, also, and then even here in the opening, I've gone through a couple of little caves, and it's popped up a like discovery sort of message, and that feels a lot like the caves in Elden Ring.
But yeah, I was going to wait to see who was the first one to make that comparison because if no one said it, I was gonna. Yeah.
Well, it's such an interesting like watching those two companies because Dark Souls was obviously inspired by classic Zeldas, and then Breath of the Wild came out, and it's like, oh, this game has been inspired by Dark Souls. And then Elden Ring comes out, and it's like, oh, they've been inspired by Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
And then we've had an extra year that I'm sure a little bit of Elden Ring has snuck in and inspired them too.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself because I don't know how likely it is that, you know, it's definitely not the same degree of Elden Ring really drew a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild, and there was 4 or 5 years between those games. I think it's maybe more interesting that these two, high pedigree Japanese development companies kind of went along similar paths with their games.
Yeah, it might be
sense.
more a case of that.
But yeah, it definitely felt the first time I popped into one of those caves, and it's like a short little mini dungeon of sorts where you go through a few caverns, and very, very Elden Ring, very, very much like the mini dungeons in that game.
I also like that I've seen a lot of different enemies already, because that was one complaint that I did have a little bit of time for with Breath of the Wild. Is that there really weren't that many different enemies. But I've seen a nice little menagerie of freaks already in Tears of the Kingdom. So that's nice.
Yeah, there are some interesting beasties. There's a couple encounters I've had. There's one that I'm very excited to talk to somebody about because I've not seen anybody talk about a particular encounter I've had yet that I genuinely felt so much dread and horror in this encounter. I was like properly going, oh fuck, like, over and over and over again, just terrified. And the fact that there's creatures in this game that make you have such a visceral reaction like that it just makes me think, well, what else haven't I found? What other...
Did you meet Tingle?
Yeah, that's it, yeah, the Tingle encounter. But yeah, I think that's a criticism that can't exactly be levied at the game any longer.
Nice. Good to hear. How are we feeling about it visually?
I am quite surprised about how well this creaking 6-year-old console, sorry, holds up. Because there've been points where I've been, soaring through the sky. There's a lot being rendered around Link. You've got these massive views you can see for near enough the whole map around you. And I'm just thinking
lots of like particle effects and stuff like that in certain areas, like.
And I'm thinking there'd be companies that would be releasing this on PS5 or PC, and it would be a shuddering, horrific mess. But here's Nintendo, obviously masters of their craft. I mean, they've been making these games for 40 years now, near enough.
Well, and they know their machines inside out, right?
They
always get the most out of their own machines.
And they certainly are. They certainly are getting a lot out of this. I mean, yes, if you're talking on a pure visual level, it doesn't look dramatically different from Breath of the Wild. But it's I think what impresses me is just the vistas and how much there's so much more to see just in one little kind of viewpoint of the game, like especially when you're like soaring through the sky, as I mentioned. And it's the fact that the Switch is still managing to run that stably as well.
Yeah, I've seen maybe like one little kind of frame hiccup, and it was like a couple of seconds, and it kind of disappeared like after that. And now, like, it was, like I said, it was due to like there was like a lot of particle like effects like on the screen, and they just couldn't. The Switch was just like, oh my god, I can't handle this. Turned the camera a little bit, and then it was fine. But nothing to a degree where it's going to like ruin your enjoyment of like playing it.
What was the
0 out of 10?
Only 30 FPS.
There's a good chance this is kind of the swan song of the Switch. Like, all signs point to it's probably on its last year.
Mm.
And what a pair of games to bookend that machine,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like it's not the highest of defs or whatever, but just in terms of the artistry of what you're looking at, this game is, I'd rather be looking at what this game is showing me than what something that's 4K but not as interesting to look at. Yeah. But there's something about the opening area, especially the color palette it goes with, actually really reminds me of Elden Ring. Just sort of the yellow, autumnal, dying grass sort of colours with the sort of sunset lighting coming in and stuff.
Golden skies and stuff like that.
Yeah. Really pretty, though. It's going to be just like Breath of the Wild in that I'm going to want to stop and take a screenshot.
And that first area, like, an unbelievable amount of like screenshots and like video clips, like, I'm going to like fill up my Switch's memory as it continues.
Yeah, I remember when Breath of the Wild was new, that was all you would see on Twitter for like the first month, was just everyone sharing every single view they got to.
Already started. I mean, I already, I barely ever tweet, and I already felt inspired to tweet out a few videos of a contraption I made earlier on, which amused me greatly. So, yeah.
Tell you what, though, I was having some real trouble doing the sort of putting things together that actually work, and I was like, "Oh, has the games that I like finally overtaken me, and now they're only for the Minecraft generation, and I'm too old, and I should just die."
I had that like when I created like my first little boat.
Yeah, because I just couldn't get things to
like
stick
little simple,
at the right
like
angle.
It was just like 3-4 planks stuck together, a little fan, like on the back, and I went to strike the fan to like set myself on my journey across this.
And you shattered the log?
And like I shattered the log, and it stuck me in a circle.
I kept I couldn't get my fan to attach at like a nice straight angle, So it would always be slightly angled, and then my boat would just go in circles.
I've noticed as well, like over the last, playing earlier today, like when you're connecting stuff together, they have little kind of dots in certain areas, like anchor points.
Yep.
And like as long as you're close enough to the anchor point, when you hit attach, it'll attach it and it'll snap on into the area that you exactly wanted it. Like it's so useful. Like it could be so much more like fiddlier. Like, but the way Nintendo have done it and designed it, like it's just genius.
I think that's why, kind of talking about what we spoke about earlier, and we'll go more in depth into the actual area itself on the next episodes, of course. But that the whole kind of starting tutorial area, whilst I do kind of agree with you in that it was more linear than the Great Plateau, part of me was glad for that, because I think the powers this time, they do require a bit more time to get used to, because they are a bit more complex. So the fact that, I'm not having to think so much about where to actually go, but more so, how am I going to get to the next area? Let's get to grips with the new fusing mechanic or the new Ultra Hand mechanic or what have you. I think that whole starting area really, I found I benefited from that greatly, because I was concerned about how that was all going to work for me personally as well. I was worried pre-release we kind of dodged around this in our first episode, because you hadn't watched any of the pre-release material yourself, Luke, but they showed off a little it was Aonuma doing 10 minutes of demonstration on the new powers. And when they showed off the new kind of mechanic of, being able to build whatever you want, like a boat or what have you, for example, I was like, that's really, really cool, and my mind's already racing about how that's going to work. I'm also really concerned that I'm just going to be too dumb for it.
Yeah.
But the whole starting area being linear yet focused, I suppose, is a better way to put it, gave me enough time to get to grips with the mechanics, so that when I left that starting area, I felt like a dab hand at it, and I felt like I'd put together whatever I wanted to put together, to varying degrees of success.
If the opening feels a little more tutorially, it's because there probably is more to tutorialize this time.
Yeah. And I think
maybe one of you can help me out. When I'm using the Ultra Hand, is there a way to rotate the object?
Yes, if you hold down
you hold
R.
Yeah.
And then you use the D-pad to either rotate
the
it
D-pad.
Yeah.
Because I'd held down R and the little arrows came up, then I could have... So here's why things were taking me so long. Is so I wanted to put a fan on my boat or whatever. I'm lifting it up and bouncing it off rocks and stuff, trying to get it to land the way up that I want.
Proper caveman style. How does this work?
There we go. So
the same thing happens.
Saved you hours of grief.
With the fuse, you can fuse to arrows.
Yep.
I was like, right, yeah, okay, skip through that tutorial, then realised I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, so
I had to Google how to stick things to arrows. Right, you're going to shoot and then press the D-pad or whatever.
Yep.
So I've now realised I should probably read tutorials in this game.
Yeah, there's a little bit of new stuff to learn in this game, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, when you're rotating something around, if it feel like it's getting kind of out of whack a little bit, you can press ZL and reset it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That usually helps.
So the ZL thing happened for me once or twice, and then I couldn't. So I thought ZL was how you spin, and then I couldn't get it to do it again. So I guess I'd spun it and I was resetting it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Sense.
Yeah,
I still do that as well.
I wish I'd recorded.
It's not at the right angle, and then I have to reset it to kind of get it back to the alignment that I want.
I wish I'd recorded the 30 minutes to an hour it took me to get across one river, because my fans kept attaching to my boats at the wrong angles.
I think there's a lot of joy to be had in failing your contraptions.
I was having the time of my life, even as I was... It was basically like an episode of Scrap Heap Challenge.
Yes, absolutely. There's and these are the videos I've put up on Twitter, so you can go check these out if you want to at my Twitter account, James J. Miles, if you fancy it. But there's I tried to make this paddle boat where I attached So I'd made a raft and I put these two wheels either side of the raft, and then I attached a plank onto the wheel with the idea that it'll act like a propeller of sorts and kind of push me through the water. But the way it ended up working is both propellers hit the water at the same time. So it was almost like I was doing what's the what's the swimming, the is it the butterfly where you kind of
Yeah, the butterfly.
yeah. It was kind of like the boat was doing that and just like slapping the water, and it was like rocking and jumping up and down like I had like a hydraulic system ripped out of Pimp My Ride or something like that.
Nice.
And there were a couple of times where like, one of the propellers just got stuck on the boat itself, and the other one just kind of just slapped the water aimlessly, going round and round in circles. And I was just sitting there howling to myself, laughing. Just it's so fun to fail in this game for things like that. So yeah, experimentation is such a joy in this.
The Ultra Hand basically feels like that's a game unto itself, right? The fact that it's then attached into this open world action adventure game with everything else it's just going to be bonkers to see what comes out of that. The other two powers so far haven't felt as versatile in the same way.
So the other two powers you're talking about are Fuse and
Ascend. Those are the three I've got.
Mm-hmm.
Ascend.
Ascent is cool, but it's very like you use it where you're supposed to use it, kind of thing.
To a point,
almost like like earlier tonight, I finished up a shrine and I had to get over like this gap, and it was like telling me I had to like make a rail. Like there was already like a bit of concrete slab attached to this rail, and I had two items that could help me propel the rail forward. And I couldn't figure out what it was wanting me to do, so like I grabbed like the stone slab and put it on top of this metal like hook and lodged like the boosting device like underneath that. And but the only problem was like I couldn't get up to the platform that I made because like it wasn't a climbable surface like in the shrine.
Right.
But that's where I was like, oh, I can use Ascend. And I used Ascend and I could zip myself up with Ascend through onto the stone plank pillar that I made, which allowed me to zip across the gap and get to the end of the shrine.
And I think because you've not left that kind of starting zone yet, Luke, I think you'll find more opportunities for Ascend. Like
I'm sure I will.
Like there was one particular example that I can think of where I felt really clever for doing it. It was like an enemy encampment, and the way it was structured is there was like one smaller tower and then a bridge connecting from the first tower up to the kind of main enemy base area. And there was lots of enemies on that first tower, so I presume one way, like if you didn't have that power, would do is you'd fight your way through, go across the bridge, storm the camp. Instead, what I did is I used Ascend, zipped up to the bridge, skipped that whole first tower. They were oblivious I was there, and just snuck into the main camp that way. And just little ways you can kind of cheat the system. I think Ascend is quite. It's definitely more niche. Definitely not as there's not as many opportunities to play with it as there is with Ultra Hand. Obviously, Ultra Hand is the star of the show, but it's got its place for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's called Ultra Hand.
Yes.
What a cute little reference.
That's to like a peripheral, am I right in saying?
No, Ultra Hand predates Nintendo even making games.
Oh, wow.
Ultra Hand was a toy that Gunpei Yokoi made, like, early Nintendo, where they first started making toys, even. Right. Like, it's the thing where you have... It's like a big stick and you squeeze the end and it's got a plastic hand that opens and closes.
Right.
Like, you've seen that toy. It's a common toy.
Like a pooper scooper.
Well, yeah, like a grabbing hand.
Ultra hand grabber.
Yeah, they were invented by Gunpei Yokoi. Like, Nintendo made
version of those little, like a plastic version of those little sticky hands that you used to have when you were younger. Ever have those?
Yeah. So yeah, that was the Ultra Hand. So Nintendo is responsible for those.
Fuse, I think, is very versatile as well. Just in terms of, weirdly, not so much with what you attach to weapons, but what you attach to arrows, especially, and to shields. There's some neat ways you can use it as well.
I was like wondering, no, like with the shields, like I know I've like attached like a rock, just like a straight up a rock to one of my shields, and I found it was pretty good. Like when you parry with it, it was good for like breaking like rocks and minerals that you need to mine. But like it doesn't add to the strength. I found out like earlier, it doesn't add to the overall strength of the shield. So if that shield's like a level 4, like adding, I've not found an item that I can add to it that makes the shield stronger, which is a bit of a shame because I've been running out a lot of like shields.
That's strange because I know like when I've attached a rock to a shield, the number's gone up next to it. So
mine's doesn't seem to go up.
Interesting. But yeah, and there's more. There's another power, more powers and such I would like to speak about as well, but we'll leave that for later.
Yeah, well, I noticed I got the 3 powers and there's still 3 slots.
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, hola.
That's something to speak about on our next episode, I am sure.
Nice. Very nice indeed. I had a thought just now, but I forgot it already. Oh, it's when you were talking about arrows. So yeah, when I first got Fuse, just like, I can attach something to my sword, didn't feel mind-blowing, right? I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. I attached a boulder to a big stick, and now I've got a boulder on a stick. Cool. And it was when I realised that, this means that I don't need to go around collecting fire arrows, ice arrows, whatever. I can make all kinds of arrows with stuff I collect. That's what's going to be really cool and different, I think.
That's just reminded me, actually, like, see, because I actually watched, like, that tutorial clip we were talking about when Nintendo were showing off, like, the fuse mechanics and stuff like that. Like, obviously, I'd seen that, and I was, like, when I'm, like, up into the sky area, after I got Ultra Hand, I was trying to attach weapons together.
Oh!
Like, thinking that's how you fuse them. And I'm like, I put them on the ground, they were stuck together, and I went to pick it, I thought, you put them on the ground, attach them together, and then pick it up. But as soon as I picked it up, it would break.
Right.
Like, they would break apart because, like, you're just attaching it to the ground, basically. And I'm like, the hell is going on here? What am I missing? Like,
you're thinking
like fuse. I was like, alright, fucking didn't have the right ability.
I'm glad that's not how they did it, because that would have been way too finicky.
Oh yeah, that would have been like so weird. Like the way the fuse actually works is like super snappy and quick, the way it should be.
Yeah, I think I had the same feeling where it's from just like I was avoiding pre-release stuff, but obviously I saw a few things, right? It gets into the ether.
Yeah.
And I saw like, here's Link with a sword. So then I had the same thing when I didn't try and do it, but when I got the Ultra Hand, I was like, this is going to be so fiddly mucking about making weapons. Like, I started to get a bit of the fear that, like I said, this game's just not going to be for me. Because it's going to be more like a crafting type game that I'm just not good at. So then when I did get Fuse, and it's like, okay, you just A and B, bam, it's done. I was like, great. So yeah, this game is... I should have had more faith.
Yeah. I think that's...
I tried to play Fortnite back when it... there was no building mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the classic every middle-aged guy who plays Fortnite where it's, I can get down to the last 2 players, but then the other player builds a fortress. And it's like, well, I'm done then. I can't do that.
I think this is what this game's going to have as a really good legacy, is the fact that if you are like a really creative sort, like really into your Minecraft or what have you there, you can get down in the weeds with that to a massive degree. Like you can just spend ages like building carts and boats and flying machines and just really lose yourself in that. But if you just are wanting to roam the world and adventure and explore, that's all there too. I think it's brilliant how they all mesh together. The creativity aspect and just the general exploring Zelda-ness of the experience.
Yeah, like you can go, like you can do as little with it as you want
Mhm.
and still have like a really fun time in it, or you can go like super in depth and like probably even have an even better time, you know. But like, not going to kind of begrudge anyone if they don't like kind of go massively in depth with mechanics, because like as long as you're being a little bit creative and like in solving the problem like the way you want to solve it, like there's nothing better.
Yeah, because obviously I work as a teacher in Japan, and a lot of my students play games. I can't wait to see the stuff that those kids who do play loads and loads of Minecraft and everything and have now picked this up. They're going to show me some insane stuff. I can't wait.
Like,
I'm
there's
going to
already
be like,
some
oh
stuff
yeah,
coming
how
up.
is this boss? And he's going to be like, oh, it's easy because I built a tank and destroyed it. And I'm like, oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when Breath of the Wild came out, part of the discussion was like, oh, this is the first time in a long time it feels like Nintendo has been playing what other companies are making. Because it's like, it's an open world game with towers, but just, completely rewrote the rules on that. But obviously they had been playing what was coming out, right? And this feels like Nintendo have been playing what the kids actually play.
Yeah, the bringing up Fortnite's interesting because obviously the start of every Fortnite game, you're diving from the sky, you know. You're trying to scout out a good landing location, and then
Well, I
there's obviously the
remember
building aspect of the game as well. It makes me.
when
It does make me
we had
wonder.
that first trailer of Link doing the dive. All the jokesters online were like, "Oh, Link's dropping in Tomato Town" and all that kind of stuff. So.
But it does make me wonder. Like maybe I, maybe Aonuma went for a few victory royales and then thought, "I've got it. I know what the next Zelda game's going to be."
Maybe the reason this game has taken 6 years to come out is because the whole dev team just got hooked on Fortnite.
That's it.
Like Miyamoto walks in, like, "How's the new Zelda game coming?" "Oh yeah. We're doing research, mate. We're doing research. Give us a minute." 8 hours later, "Are you done with your research yet?" "Oh, one more."
Aonuma just sitting there in his office going, "I've got to grind the battle pass."
Just running into the main room, screaming, "Look, guys! Look at the costume I just unlocked!
I can be Thanos now."
Look, I made him dab! Can we make Link dab?" "No, Aonuma. Go back to bed, mate." Do you know Aonuma's from Nagano?
I did not.
I learned that obviously a while after I moved here. It's not like that's why I moved here, but
like stalking them. You knew that beforehand.
I presume you'll live near.
you live in Kyoto now, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Kyoto last week for Golden Week, and I was looking at the Nintendo building, and all the lights were off, and I was like, "Oh, good! I'm glad they've all got the weekend off." And then,
little do you know, they're all sleeping and
yeah,
They're all in
the
Nintendo games
time.
Dungeons, making the
team dungeons in the Kyoto offices.
And then we were on the train home on the Sunday, and I was trying to talk to my girlfriend, like, "Wow, imagine working at Nintendo on Monday and like, Zelda's coming out on Friday. I bet they all feel really nervous." And she's just like, was not interested in this conversation. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is only of interest to me." The original Nintendo building from when it used to be a card factory is now a hotel, but it's like a mega fancy $1,000 a night, like, rich people hotel.
Not the Hotel Mario, then.
No, I'm going to try and stay there one day for like my 40th birthday.
It still has the little original kind of logo on the side, doesn't it?
It's still got loads and loads of the original stuff, so it's like a hotel / Nintendo museum.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely going to stay there at least once before I die.
That's
Yeah, let's hurry up and finish this so I can go back and play more Zelda.
Play.
So after us, waxing lyrical about our first impressions on the game and just generally being very, very excited, we're all off to play lots and lots more of Tears of the Kingdom, but please make sure you join us on the next episode where we'll begin the whole point of this podcast, where we go through the game area by area, sort of. That's the idea. And we'll be talking about the very opening of the game and get stuck into the first big area of the game, the Great Sky Island. So make sure you join us for that one. Until then, Luke, where can we be found?
We're on Twitter and Facebook at Hyrule Field Pod. We're probably also on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the different ways you can listen to podcasts. I think we've got that figured out. This is a brand new podcast, so please do rate and review on your podcasting app of choice. Give us 5 stars, give us a little write-up. Tell your friends, share it on the Twitter, share it on the Facebook. I mean, I'm sure you have other friends who are playing Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Let them know. They know this will be a fun podcast to play along as you listen to as you play, and then I'm sure you'll all finish it before we finish this podcast. So it'll be a way to sort of keep reliving the game for many months to come. And we'd love it if you all get in touch. So if you have any thoughts and feelings about that first area, everything from the very opening of the game right until you get off this Great Sky Island, send it in. You can tweet at us, you can send us a Facebook message. I think you can email us at hyrulefieldreport@gmail.com.
Oh, that's new.
Well, we've always had emails for this podcast, I just never bring it up. But, so if you have like a unique anecdote or some thoughts and feelings, please share them. And we'll try and get to them in the episodes.
Well, catch you later.
Cheerio.
Bye. I'm off to play some Fortnite.
Let's make that
Victory Royale.